The repair bay went dead silent. Every wrench stopped moving. Every conversation died. The CEO stepped onto the floor, and everyone straightened up, except the man under the truck. Jack didn't even look up till he was 35. Black. Single dad. Grease on his arms. Faded badge on his chest. He always took the worst shifts. Always stayed late. Never complained. His hands moved fast. Precise. Like surgery, that's not company procedure. The CEO's voice cut through the shop like glass. She pointed at his hands. This isn't the military. You're done. Fired. Right now, Dahai. Welcome to Pop Stories channel. Thanks for watching. Kindly tell me what country you're watching from. Jack stood up slow. Wiped his hands. His face didn't change. That my daughter needs her medicine. Can I finish the shift? The CEO turned and walked away. No answer. No mercy. Jack picked up his toolbox. Walked toward the gate. The sun hit his face. His hands didn't shake. But inside he was breaking. Then the ground started shaking. That a deep roar rolled across the parking lot. Windows rattled. Dust exploded into the air. That a Navy helicopter dropped from the sky. Fast. Low. Aggressive. The rotor screamed. People covered their ears. Mechanics ran outside. Phones came out. That an officer leaned out the side door. Megaphone in hand. That we are here for Lieutenant Commander Raven 6. The CEO froze because Jack stopped walking. Slowly he turned around, his eyes locked on hers. And for the first time since she fired him, she saw something she didn't recognize. Authority. The kind you can't fake. The kind you earn in blood. The helicopter touched down. Dust swirled everywhere. Officers jumped out. Saluted. Not to her, to him. The CEO's face went white. She had just fired a ghost, that a man with a secret name. A past she knew nothing about. A life beyond anything she could imagine. Jack didn't smile. Didn't gloat. That he just stood there. Toolbox in one hand. Daughter's medicine money in the other. And the whole world was watching. What happens next will shatter everything you think you know about this man. Stick around. The apartment was small. Too small. The heater hummed in the corner. The walls were thin. You could hear everything from next door. Soraya sat at the kitchen table. 8 years old. Textbook open. Inhaler next to her hand. Her breathing was shallow. Careful. Like she was afraid to use too much air. Jack walked in. Set his toolbox down. Took off his jacket. Oil stains covered his hands. That he rubbed his face. Hard. Double shifts. Triple shifts. Sometimes he worked 20 hours straight just to cover her medicine. The doctor visits. The bills that never stopped. That he never complained. Never asked for help. I'll make dinner, he said quiet. Pan on the stove. Mac and cheese. Chicken nuggets. The same meal stretched as far as his paycheck allowed. Soraya looked up. Smiled. Dad, you always make it fun. That he smiled back. But his shoulders were heavy. Every shift. Every sleepless night. Every choice he made. IT was all for her. Back at the shop, the mechanics whispered. Some felt bad for him. Most said nothing. Frank stood at Jack's empty workstation. 30 years in the shop. Seen everything. But he stared at the toolbox Jack left behind. There were markings on it. Scratched into the metal. Faint. Most people wouldn't notice. But Frank noticed. Navy Special Warfare serial codes. Frank had seen that toolbox before he knew. Jack wasn't just a mechanic. The younger guys joked about him. Called him slow. Called him weird for the way he worked. But Frank knew better. The way Jack moved. The way he checked tools. The way he never panicked under pressure. That wasn't normal. That was training. Frank shook his head. Looked at the empty station one more time. They have no idea who they just let go, he whispered at a home. Soraya coughed. Jack turned fast. Grabbed her inhaler. Handed it to her. She took 2 puffs. Breathed slow. That I'm okay, Dad. Jack nodded. But his jaw was tight. He couldn't afford to lose this job. Not now. Not with her medicine running low. But he also couldn't go back. Not after what the CEO did. Soraya reached for his hand. "It will be okay," she said. Jack looked at her. This little girl. This fighter. And he made a promise to himself that no matter what happened next, she would never go without, even if it meant the world had to see who he really was. What Jack doesn't know yet is that the helicopter wasn't random. Someone was looking for him. And they just found him. Jack wasn't like the other mechanics. He could hear an engine problem before anyone else saw it. The cylinder's rhythm. The valve timing. The way metal moved inside metal. He'd listen. Close his eyes. Then fix it.no would open. No manual. Just his hands and his brain. The young mechanics watched him like he was magic. "How'd you do that?" one asked. Jack just smiled. Said nothing, but they kept watching. The way he moved. Fast. Clean. No wasted motion. Like every tool had a place. Like every second mattered. That you're like special ops or something, a rookie joked once. Jack looked at him. Smiled but didn't answer. The CEO, Vivian Chase, never noticed. All she saw was someone breaking rules. Ignoring the manual. Skipping steps. To her. That was weakness. A problem. A liability. She didn't care that Jack fixed more cars than anyone else. She didn't care that customers asked for him by name. All she cared about was control. But the guys who paid attention, they saw things, small things. The way Jack stored his tools. Perfect lines. Perfect order. The way he never panicked. Even when engines caught fire. Even when hydraulic lines burst, that he just moved. Calm. Steady, like he'd seen worse. Frank noticed the locker. Jack never left it open. But one day, the door swung wide. Inside, there was a photo. Jack in a flight suit. Helmet under his arm. Standing in front of a helicopter. Not a small one. A military one. Frank stared at it. Then looked away fast. He didn't ask questions. But now he knew. Jack wasn't just a mechanic. He was something else. The rookies didn't see it. They laughed at his weird methods. Called him old school. But the older guys? They respected him. Because they'd been around long enough to know. You don't move like that unless you've been trained. You don't stay calm like that unless you've been tested. And you don't work that fast unless your life once depended on it. Vivian saw none of this. She saw a man who didn't follow her rules, that a man who made her feel small without even trying. So she fired him. Big mistake. Because the world was about to find out who Jack really was. And when they did, Vivian's career, her reputation, everything she built, it would all come crashing down. Jack never wanted this, that he just wanted to keep his head down. Make money. Take care of Soraya. But the helicopter changed everything. Now the secret he buried for years was about to explode in front of everyone. And there was no stopping it. Jack stood outside the shop gate. His hand shook as he counted the bills. 20, 40, 60, 80. Not enough. That he was $40 short. His stomach twisted. His chest got tight. Soraya's medicine. She needed it. Today. He walked to the pharmacy. Each step felt heavier. He tried to breathe normal. Tried to stay calm. But inside, he was breaking. The pharmacist looked at him. Saw the bills in his hand. "I'm sorry. You're short." Jack's fist clenched. His jaw locked. Soraya had been wheezing all morning. More than usual. He couldn't let her go. Without that inhaler, he couldn't. "Please," he said quiet. "My daughter." Then the ground shook. A roar cut through the air. Loud. Close. The pharmacy windows rattled. People screamed. Jack turned. A Navy helicopter dropped from the sky. Fast. Aggressive. Rotors whipped up dust. Street signs shook. Cars rocked on their wheels. Navy officers jumped out. Boots hit pavement. Commands shouted. Phones came out everywhere. People ran. Some recorded. Some hid. Then one officer stepped forward. Looked right at Jack. Lieutenant Commander Raven 6. Jack froze. That name, that wasn't his name here. That wasn't his life anymore. "We've been looking for you, sir." The officer saluted. Jack didn't move, didn't speak. His past just caught up to him. In front of everyone. Inside the shop, Vivian heard the noise. She ran outside. Papers in hand. Quarterly reports. Power suit, authority. None of it mattered now. She saw Jack. The man she fired an hour ago, grease-stained. Exhausted. Broke. But now Navy officers surrounded him. Saluting him. Calling him commander. Vivian's face went white. The mechanics poured out of the shop. Frank. The rookies. Everyone, they stared. Jack stood in the middle of it all. Calm. Still, like he'd been here before, like chaos was normal to him. The officer stepped closer. Spoke low. But everyone heard. Sir, we have orders. You're needed. Jack's eyes didn't leave the ground. I'm not that man anymore. The officer shook his head. With respect, sir, you never stopped being him. Vivian's hands started shaking. She had fired a hero. She had humiliated someone trained for things she couldn't imagine. Someone who had saved lives. Led missions. Earned respect she would never understand. And she did it because he didn't follow her rules. The pharmacist stepped outside. Stared at the scene. Jack turned back to her. Held up the bills. I still need the medicine. The officer reached into his pocket. Pulled out cash. Handed it to Jack. For your daughter, sir. Jack looked at the money. Then, at the officer. He took it. Nodded once. Thank you. The helicopter's rotors kept spinning. Dust everywhere. Cameras recording. Vivian stood frozen. Her career. Her reputation. Everything she built at IT was all about to come crashing down. And the whole world was watching. The crowd kept growing. Mechanics. Neighbors. Random people off the street. Every phone pointed at Jack. Recording. Streaming. Posting. Vivian stood at the edge of it all. Watching. Her stomach dropped. She had fired a hero, the man whose life she never bothered to understand. The helicopter's cargo ramp lowered. Slow. Heavy. A commanding officer stepped out, tall. Straight-backed. Eyes sharp like knives. He didn't look at the crowd. Only at Jack. Jack didn't move first. He stood there. Quiet. Waiting. Then slowly. He walked forward to no rush. No show, just calm, the kind of calm that comes from doing impossible things. His posture changed. Shoulders back. Head up. IT wasn't loud. He didn't announce himself, but everyone saw it, the authority, the precision, the control. This wasn't a mechanic. This was a warrior. The young mechanics, the ones who laughed at him, stood frozen, mouths open, eyes wide. They had joked about his military tricks, called him weird, called him slow. Now they saw the truth. Frank stood in the back. Arms crossed. He nodded. Just once did a quiet acknowledgement. The man they dismissed was extraordinary, and Vivian's face went pale. Her hands trembled. Her chest felt tight. She had judged him, humiliated him, fired him publicly. And now the world was seeing what she missed. The commanding officer saluted Jack. Lieutenant Commander. It's an honor, sir. Jack saluted back. Clean. Sharp, like muscle memory. The officer handed him a folder. Classified markings on the front. Your country needs you again. Jack stared at the folder. Didn't open it. I have a daughter. The officer nodded. We know, sir. We'll take care of everything. Her medicine. Her care. Whatever she needs. Jack's jaw tightened. He looked back at the pharmacy. Then at the shop. Then at Vivian. She couldn't look at him. Couldn't breathe. The cameras kept rolling. Someone in the crowd shouted, "That's the guy she fired." Another voice. She fired a Navy commander. Whispers spread like fire. Vivian felt every eye on her. Her authority gone. Her respect gone. Her career crumbling in real time. Jack turned back to the officer. I need 24 hours. To make sure my daughter's okay. The officer didn't hesitate. You have it, sir. Jack nodded. Walked back toward the pharmacy. The crowd parted. No one said a word. He bought Soraya's medicine. Paid in full. Then he walked past Vivian. Didn't look at her. Didn't speak, but his silence said everything. You had no idea who I was, and now you'll never forget. Vivian stood there. Alone. Mechanics walked away from her. Whispered behind her back. Frank shook his head. Walked inside. She had made the biggest mistake of her life. And the whole world just watched it happen. Jack's secret was out. And nothing would ever be the same. Vivian couldn't move. Her mind raced. Spinning. Crashing. Every moment came back. Every time she judged him, the pressure test she didn't understand. His hands. She thought they were shaking from fear. They weren't. They were steady. Precise. Expert. She had mistaken skill for weakness. She remembered his face when she fired him, that he didn't argue. Didn't fight back. Just asked for one thing. Can I finish the shift? My daughter needs her medicine. And she walked away. Vivian's chest felt tight. She hadn't just fired an employee. She had humiliated a hero, a man with skills beyond anything she could measure, but a father carrying responsibilities she couldn't imagine. And she did it because he didn't follow her rules. Her authority felt like paper now. Thin. Weak. Ready to tear. She looked around. Mechanics whispered. Pointed at her. Phone still recording. Neighbors watching from across the street. Every glance felt like a knife. Every whisper, a judgment. She wanted to explain. To defend herself. But there was nothing to say. She was wrong. Completely. Publicly. Undeniably wrong. Jack walked past her again. Medicine bag in hand, but he didn't look at her. Didn't say a word. But his silence destroyed her more than any insult could. His dignity. His calm. His quiet strength that exposed everything she lacked. Her arrogance. Her blindness. Her cruelty. Frank walked up beside her. Stood silent for a moment. Then he spoke. Low. Cold. You had no idea, did you? Vivian's voice cracked. No. Frank shook his head. That man saved lives. Led missions most people will never know about. And you fired him for not following a manual. That he walked away. Vivian stood alone. The shop felt different now. Colder. Quieter. The mechanics didn't respect her anymore. She could feel it, the way they avoided eye contact. The way they moved around her like she wasn't there. She had lost them. One of the rookies whispered to another. She really didn't know. Nope. Fired a legend because he made her feel small. Vivian heard it. Every word. Her phone buzzed. A text from corporate. Did we need to talk? Now. Her stomach dropped. The video was already online. Going viral. That CEO fires Navy hero over paperwork. The comments were brutal. She didn't even let him finish his shift for his daughter's medicine. This is what happens when ego runs a company. That she's done. That Vivian's hand shook. Everything she built. Everything she worked for crumbling. Because she couldn't see past her own pride. Jack didn't destroy her. She destroyed herself. And now, she had to face the consequences. But the worst part, Jack still hadn't said a single word against her. He didn't have to. The truth spoke for itself. And that truth was louder than anything she could ever say. The helicopter crew moved closer. They didn't shout. Didn't make a scene. But their presence, it filled the entire street. Heavy. Undeniable. Absolute. Everyone watched. Vivian felt her chest crush inward. She couldn't breathe right. The commanding officer pulled out a document. Held it up. Lieutenant Commander Jack Reynolds. Navy SEAL. 12 years active duty. 3 Purple Hearts. Congressional Medal of Honor recipient. The crowd went silent. You could hear the wind. The rotors. Nothing else. That Vivian's legs almost gave out. Medal of Honor. The highest military award in the country. And she fired him over paperwork. The officer continued. Commander Reynolds led rescue operations in hostile territory. Saved 43 lives. Trained elite combat units. Each word hit Vivian like a punch. Jack stood quiet. Didn't react. He didn't need to. The truth was doing all the talking. Frank stepped forward. Looked at the younger mechanics. I tried to tell you. That toolbox. Those markings. I knew. One of the rookies, the one who joked about Jack being special ops, looked sick. I made fun of him, another whispered. He wasn't just a mechanic. No, Frank said. He was never just a mechanic. Phones kept recording. The video was everywhere now. Trending. Shared. Reposted. Hashtag justice for Jack. Hashtag CEO fired a hero. Vivian's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Emails. Calls. Messages from corporate. From the board. From investors. All saying the same thing. Fix this. Now, but there was no fixing this. The officer looked at Jack. Sir, we have a car waiting. Whenever you're ready. Jack nodded. Looked at the pharmacy bag in his hand. I need to see my daughter first. Of course, sir. The officer stepped back. Saluted again. Jack walked toward his car. The crowd parted. Silent. Respectful that no one said a word. But everyone felt that this man, this quiet, humble man, was a giant. And they had all watched him get treated like nothing. Vivian wanted to say something. Apologize. Explain, but what could she say? I'm sorry, I didn't know you were a hero. That made it worse, because it meant she only cared after she found out who he was. Not before, not when it mattered. Jack reached his car. Stopped. Turned around. His eyes found Vivian, for the first time since the helicopter landed. He looked at her, really looked at her, and, anger. No hate, just disappointment. That look crushed her more than anything else could. That he got in his car. Drove away. The helicopter lifted off. Dust everywhere. The crowd slowly broke apart. Whispers spreading. Vivian stood alone. Mechanics walked past her. Didn't speak. Didn't look. She had become invisible in her own shop. One of the younger guys stopped. Looked back. You know what the worst part is? Vivian didn't answer. He would have stayed. If you just treated him like a human being. The kid walked away. Vivian's phone rang. Corporate. She didn't answer. Because she already knew what they were going to say. She was done, and Jack, the man she fired, had done nothing but tell the truth. The world did the rest. Jack could have destroyed her. One interview. One statement. One post. He could have told the world exactly what Vivian did. How she humiliated him. Fired him. Ignored his daughter's needs. The media would have eaten up. Her career would be over in hours. But Jack didn't do any of that. He drove straight home. Soraya was on the couch. Breathing shallow. Waiting. Dad. Jack held up the pharmacy bag. I got it, baby. Her face lit up. She grabbed her inhaler. 2 puffs. Slow breaths. Jack watched. Waited. Her breathing steadied. Deeper. Easier. Relief washed over him like a wave. Feel better? She nodded. Smiled. Yeah. Thank you, Dad. Jack sat beside her. Put his arm around her. This was all that mattered. Not the helicopter. Not the cameras. Not Vivian. Just Soraya. Safe. Breathing. Alive. His phone buzzed. Over and over. News stations. Reporters. People wanting a story. That he turned it off. The next morning, Vivian waited outside the shop. She didn't sleep. Couldn't eat. She had to see him. Had to say something. Jack pulled into the parking lot. Saw her standing there, and he could have driven past. Ignored her, but he didn't. He parked. Got out. Vivian stepped forward. Her voice shaking. Jack. I stop. His voice was calm. Firm. She froze. Jack looked at her. Really looked at her. You want to apologize because you found out who I was. Not because of what you did. Vivian opened her mouth. Closed it. He was right. If I was just a mechanic, nobody special, would you be here right now? Silence. She couldn't answer. Because they both knew the truth. No. She wouldn't. Jack shook his head. I don't need your apology. I don't need revenge. I just needed to take care of my daughter. He started walking toward the gate. Vivian's voice cracked. I'm sorry. I really am. Jack stopped. Turned halfway. Then be better. To the next person. The one who doesn't have a medal. The one nobody's looking for. He walked away. Vivian stood there. Tears running down her face. He had every right to destroy her. But he chose mercy instead. that hurt worse than any revenge could, because it showed her exactly who she wasn't, and who she could have been. Later that day, the commanding officer called Jack. "Sir, we still need you." Jack looked at Soraya. Asleep on the couch. Breathing steady. "I know. But she needs me more." The officer paused. "Understood, sir. If you ever change your mind, I won't." Jack hung up that he made his choice. Not revenge. Not glory. Not even duty. Just love for the little girl who needed him most. And that choice, that quiet, powerful choice, said more about who Jack was than any medal ever could. Vivian watched from her office window as Jack drove away. She had lost everything. But Jack? He had everything that mattered. And she finally understood the difference. 3 weeks later. Life found its rhythm again, but Soraya's laughter filled the apartment. Loud. Free. Alive. She was breathing better. Playing more. Smiling every day. Jack still worked double shifts, but something changed that he walked different now. Head higher. Shoulders back. Not because the world knew who he was, but because he knew who he was. He had been tested. Humiliated. Exposed. And he chose responsibility over revenge. That choice gave him peace at AT, the new shop, a smaller place across town. The owner treated him different, with respect. With trust. "You don't have to explain your methods to me," the owner said. "Just keep doing what you do." Jack nodded. Got to work. The other mechanics heard the story, saw the videos, but they didn't treat him like a celebrity. They treated him like a man, and that's all Jack ever wanted. Back at Vivian's shop, things changed too. She didn't get fired, but she got demoted. Corporate put someone else in charge. Gave her a second chance. She took it. Vivian started showing up to the floor more. Watching. Listening. She learned names. Asked questions. One day, a young mechanic tried a new technique. Something outside the manual. The old Vivian would have shut it down. But this Vivian stopped. Watched. "Why are you doing it that way?" The mechanic froze. Nervous. "It's faster. More accurate. I learned it from..." He stopped. Looked at her. Vivian finished his sentence. From Jack. The mechanic nodded. Vivian smiled. Sad. "But real. Show me." She learned. She changed. Slowly. IT didn't erase what she did. But it was a start. Frank watched from across the shop that he saw her bending down, listening to a rookie explain an engine problem. The old Vivian never would have done that. Frank allowed himself a small smile. Maybe people could change. Maybe mistakes could teach. One evening, Jack got a call. Unknown number that he almost didn't answer. But something made him pick up. "Hello." "Jack." It's Vivian. Silence. "I'm not calling to apologize again. I know that doesn't fix anything." Jack waited. I wanted you to know. I'm trying. To be better. To see people the way I should have seen you." Jack leaned against the kitchen counter. Soraya was drawing at the table. "That's good," he said quiet. "I'll never forgive myself for what I did." "You don't need my forgiveness," Jack said. "You need to forgive yourself. And do better next time." Vivian's voice cracked. "Thank you." Jack hung up. Soraya looked up from her drawing. Who was that? Someone trying to be better. She smiled. Went back to her drawing. Jack looked around the apartment. Small. Simple. Warm. This was his life. His real life. No medals. No helicopters. No cameras. Just him and Soraya. And that was enough. Frank retired a month later. On his last day, he stopped by Jack's new shop, shook his hand. "You did good, son." Jack smiled. "So did you." Frank walked away. But he turned back once. "The world needed to see what you were. But you didn't need the world to see it. That's the difference." Jack nodded. Frank left. And Jack went back to work, quiet, strong, present. The story had reached its peak, not in revenge, not in glory, but in the simple truth that real strength doesn't need to be loud, that IT just needs to be real. True strength isn't loud, that IT doesn't need a stage, doesn't need applause, that IT shows up quietly, does the work, goes home, True honor isn't advertised, that it's not worn on the chest. Not posted online, that IT lives in actions. In choices. In the moments when no one's watching, Jack understood this. He always had. The most dangerous mistake anyone can make is judging someone before understanding what they've survived. Vivian learned that lesson the hard way. She looked at Jack and saw a rule breaker. She should have seen a survivor. She saw weakness. She should have seen strength forged in fire. Jack had been publicly humiliated, fired, dismissed, treated like nothing. But his quiet dignity never broke. His competence spoke louder than any defense. His love for Soraya proved stronger than any revenge. Justice arrived, not through anger or vengeance, but through truth. The helicopter came. The world watched, and everyone saw what Vivian missed. A hero. A father. A man of honor. For Jack, the black single dad mechanic, life finally felt like justice realized. Not because he won, but because he never lost himself. 6 months later, Soraya ran across the playground, full speed. No wheezing. No fear. Jack watched from the bench. Smiled. This was the victory, not the medals, not the recognition. This. Her laughter. Her freedom. Her life. A man sat down next to him. Older. Gray hair. You're that mechanic. From the video. Jack nodded. Yeah. The man extended his hand. Thank you. For showing my son what real strength looks like. Jack shook his hand. I was just being a dad. Exactly. The man walked away. Jack watched Soraya swing higher and higher, fearless. That night he tucked her into bed. Dad. Yeah, baby. Are you happy? Jack smiled. Kissed her forehead. With you here? Always. She closed her eyes. Breathing steady. Peaceful. Jack turned off the light. Stood in the doorway. This was enough. This was everything. The world might forget his name. The videos might fade. But Soraya would always remember. Her dad. Who fought for her. Who chose her. Who loved her above everything else. And that was the only legacy that mattered. True strength isn't loud. True honor isn't advertised. And the most powerful thing anyone can do is choose love over revenge, justice over ego, dignity over pride. Jack did that. And in doing so, he won something greater than any battle. He won peace, that he won his daughter's future, that he won his soul. The helicopter came and went. The cameras stopped rolling. But Jack's story, it stays with us. A reminder that the people we overlook might be the heroes we need. That the quiet ones might be the strongest. That the single parents working double shifts might be the bravest warriors we'll ever meet. That don't judge people by their job titles. That don't measure worth by what you can see. Because the most extraordinary people often look the most ordinary. Until the moment the truth is revealed. And by then, if you are like Vivian, it's already too late. That if this story moved you, drop a comment below telling us what hit you the hardest. Was it Jack's choice to prioritize his daughter? Vivian's realization? Or the moment the helicopter revealed everything? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Pop Stories channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss stories that make you think, feel, and see the world differently. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because we all know a Jack, and we've all met a Vivian. See you in the next story.